So I've been wanting to film a no-fap video for the last week, and I had actually been asked to do this in one of the videos as it was a request that was left. And so I am getting around to it tonight. And I've spent a fair amount of time over the last several days really thinking about how I want to create this, and I'm going to dive into my thoughts on No-Fap in this video, but I'm also going to tie in some resources that I've been reading that some of them kind of indirectly tie into ideas I've had around No-Fap and addiction, and just the overall idea about if it's healthy, if it's not healthy, how long of a period should you go, and different like parameters when it comes to my take on No-Fap. And I also am going to be making a whole challenge, which I'm going to do as well around No-Fap, and I'm going to build that out the rest of this week, and we'll look to probably have that up early next week or maybe over the weekend. So that's going to be great. I've actually lined out, and I'll show in this video, maybe I'll show some of the slides that I've made. I'll have a lot of missions as well in the course, as well as other video lessons that I'm going to post. And I'm really making that into as extensive a kind of deep dive into No-Fap as possible. And like I said, I'm going to plan on doing this challenge as well and see how it goes. And No-Fap is something I definitely struggle with. It's been, as I said, probably from the time I was a teenager, I basically think I busted a nut like most guys every single day. You just kind of feel like that's something that kind of feels good. Maybe I would do it, you know, at the end of the day. I definitely had days where I would wake up and do it in the middle of the day and do it at the end of the day as well, you know. And I did that in my early 20s. That was very common for me to, you know, bust multiple nuts per day. I didn't think anything of it. And so what I'm really going to dive into, and again, I'll be expanding on this much further in the Manliest Man's No-Fap Challenge. That is the name of the challenge, the Manliest Man's No-Fap Challenge. I'll be diving into more of these ideas, but all right, what is going on, guys? So I thought that I would just hop on here real quick and show you some screen recordings. And here real quick, we got a shout out to BA. Leave your questions below, guys, because I will make videos on them. So we've got a No-Fap video that he requested coming right up. And let me just hop into a couple of the things that I've been working. Now, I'm going to dive into this more in the Manliest Man's No-Fap Challenge. And this is something I've been working on for the last several weeks. I've got a ton of slides going through kind of detailing my thoughts about No-Fap exactly. And I'm going to be going through this challenge myself. And what I'm doing this week is that if we come over here, this is kind of the whole members section where I have a lot of the courses that if you guys are interested in doing any of the other courses, you can just, you can find how to get in there. But this is going to be what I'm building out with the courses. So in all my courses, and let's just back up real quick so you can see like an example. If you look at like Femdom Annihilator Challenge, this is kind of the build out. So it's got each one of the days, like day one, if you click in here, it's got kind of an intro video, then it usually has like a role play, and then it has all the missions, and then it has guided releases, and then additional challenges through here. So that's kind of how that breakdown looks, and it's going to be similar to Manliest Man's No-Fap. But what I'm going to really be focusing on is going through all these slides, and I have a lot of personal experience and stories, as well as several books that I've read recently that I'm going to also tie in to this challenge. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick look and show you, kind of what the challenge is going to consist of. And so as we progress through, I talk about, different kind of different points and nut cycles. And really, I think that what's important to understand is that No-Fap is going to be different depending on your age. And so I really look at this as kind of a customization where it's not like every single guy should be going 2 weeks without busting a nut. There's kind of different, let's hop over here in full screen. There's different protocols for every guy. And so I think that being able to understand that and how I built this out is really looking at the first month is really almost like a detox period. And as I said, and you'll see in the regular video with me talking here on YouTube, I really, from the time I was a teenager, never went more than 2 or 3 days without jerking off and busting a nut. I mean, that's just real talk. And so it's kind of crazy that we just fall into these routines where it's like, yeah, we're just busting a nut. We don't even think about it. But really, I make the argument here that in the challenge, it's really draining your energy like crazy. And a lot of success, or I should say it's preventing you from having a lot of success in the sense that when you kind of get rid of a lot of these things, what you'll notice is that a lot of things in your life simply just happen. So I always say it's the addition through subtraction or addition through elimination. And oftentimes you'll find that just by being able to get rid of the, constant fapping, you're able to attract girls more easily. You're able to do better at work, have more focus, have more energy. I even make the argument that you'll get sick less. And so the answer is not to just never bust a nut, because as I say too, in the main portion of this video, oftentimes I'll see guys saying that they've gone, 2 or 3 months without busting a nut. And that's actually not, in my opinion, healthy either. So it's a matter of doing this initial kind of detox, realizing that you have control. And then from there, figuring out what are the routines, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's twice a week where you bust a nut. And remember that too, what I argue in this course is that if you are having sex with a partner, that you can still do that daily. It's just that you don't bust a nut daily. And so you kind of want to look at that as the kind of some of the major key takeaways that I have in this course. And, that's basically it. So I'm going to be building this out throughout this week, and I should have it ready by probably sometime either over the weekend or next week. And so keep a lookout for that. I probably am going to run a really early bird special, just maybe $7 or something like that for this. But I'll also just detail a lot of further ideas in this, regular YouTube video as well. So I just wanted to give you a quick little snapshot of that Manliest Matins No-Fap challenge. And let's hop right into the rest of the main content of this video, and I'll see you there.
What I want to talk about here is the idea that you are losing vitality. So in one of the books that I read recently, it's a Taoist book on Qigong, which is essentially kind of it talks a lot about traditional Chinese medicine. So a lot of ancient practices that have been around for thousands of years, things that talk about, how to increase vitality in your life, how to achieve health and well-being, a good state of mind, peacefulness, nutrition, good sleep, good sex, just a whole kind of holistic way to look at life. And I'll attach the link below to one of the free PDFs that I found of that book if you want to check it out. Definitely worth a read already. Even today, I finished the book today. I read the book in 2 days, and it was only about 170 pages, but I basically hustled out and I read it. And even after today, I didn't jerk off today. And I very well might have. If I hadn't read this book, if I wasn't thinking about these things already, I would have. And so
when we are jerking off all the time, and let me draw the distinction here real quick. There's a difference between jerking off and ejaculation. And that's one of the big things that it talks about in this book. Well, I wouldn't say one of the big things. There's a chapter that's dedicated to qi and sex. Qi in Chinese basically means vitality. So what it talks about is this breakdown of how you only want to ejaculate typically a few times per week. And if you're a little bit older, it might be once a week. And if you are, it basically breaks it down. Guys in their 20s, they want to ejaculate roughly about twice per day. When you're in your 30s, it's about once per week. Let me back that up. When you're in your 20s, it's twice per week. When you're in your 30s, it's once per week. When you're in your 40s, it's about once every 2 weeks. When you're in your 50s, I believe it's about once every 3 weeks. And when you're in your 60s, it's about once a month. That's about the breakdown, if I can remember correctly right now. I'll put maybe a screenshot of the slide that I have, the exact days, but it's roughly like that. So, all right, so I figured I'd just hop on real quick and clarify that and post another quick video. So really quickly, this is the link up here, and I'll post it in this video where you can get the free version that I found to this book. And honestly, guys, like if you do a lot of just like quick like research, you can oftentimes find PDF versions of the book for free. And I find that I like reading regular books that I hold up, but I also really like reading things just right off of the computer, only because I find that I can take notes much more easily. So I probably took about like 5 to 10 pages. I don't know where my notes are at, but I could pull them up right now. But I did a lot of reading and note taking, which I find much easier on the computer. This is just a chapter here. It's really quick. It's like a few pages, but it talks about it. But if we come down, I'll just read it real quick here. It says there are clear guidelines in TCM. TCM just refers to traditional Chinese medicine. So TCM about the ejaculation of sperm. In general, not more than twice a month is advised because of loss of qi. Other considerations include the man's health and age. The ancient texts give the following advice. For a man of 20 years, once in 4 days, so about twice per week. At 30, once in 8 days, about once a week. At 40, once in 16 days, so once about every 2 weeks. At 50, once in 20 days. And at 60, if the qi is strong, once per month. And again, I'll attach this link below so you can go check it out. And so that's where I'm pulling that from, just to clarify on that point a little bit more. By you busting a nut every single day, or if you were like me in your early 20s when you're doing it every single day, the idea here is that you are depleting your energy. Almost like, I used the example, and I posted a short video last night in Valhalla Syndicate, which is one of the private groups. And if you're not in that already, definitely go over and join Valhalla Syndicate, because I post almost daily. A lot of times I'll do kind of shorter videos about these same topics, but I'll do them in like 3 or 4 minute videos. And then I'll run discussions in there and stuff. So hop into Valhalla Syndicate if you haven't already. But so when I posted there the other night, I think I used the example of, if you imagine yourself spitting all day long, or a lot, like spitting out a lot, but then you're never pausing and drinking water or replenishing that spit. When you're busting nuts all the time, you're draining a lot of energy. And we can go much further into the, and remember here, I'm specifically right now talking about like jerking off. When it comes to actual sex, at least if you are busting a nut every day, at least you're getting that like oxytocin component more, and like the bonding component more, and maybe some, you know, sensual love, and like there's other things that are going on if you're with a partner. But here I'm really mostly talking about
when you're alone, you know, and you're just busting multiple nuts by yourself. You are, and the same thing though, it still goes if you're having sex with another person. It's still, as a guy, you can learn how to have sex but not bust a nut. So every time you have sex, let's say you do have sex every day, but you still might want to only be busting a nut once a week, and you'll really feel like you have a lot more energy. And so I actually had a really interesting experience the first time I ever tried No-Fap, and I was probably 26, and this is how long it took me to do that. Before 26, I had never probably gone more than 3 days, I think was like my max amount of time without jerking off. I'm not joking. Maybe 72 hours was the most time I'd ever gone without busting it up. And so anyway, when I was 26, for the first time I started trying No-Fap, and I maybe made it like 10 days, 2 weeks, and I had just started working a new job at a gym, a local gym. I was a personal trainer there, and I was maybe 2 weeks into not jerking off, and my energy was like incredible. My energy was high, I had focus, I had just a really good sense of well-being, and like was just very driven. And so I was just getting lots of girls' phone numbers at the gym. And there was one, like literally the day I got her phone number, was talking to her a little bit. Then a few days after that, actually, we like linked up and we worked out at a different gym. I talk about all this in Manliest Man's No-Fap challenge. I dive into this, how like this is one of my experiences, and I dive into other experiences that I had with it. But I'm just trying to illustrate the power of No-Fap that when I found out about it for the first time. And so yeah, so I met this girl, and then a few days later we like got like, it wasn't even a date, we just like went to a different gym and worked out. And that was on maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday, like it was in the middle of the week. And then a few days later on Friday, I texted her, I was like, hey, you want to hang out? And she was like, yeah, what do you want to do? And we just went out to like a local bar / restaurant, chilled out there for a few hours, went back to my apartment and had sex. And that was my first experience with No-Fap, and that was after I had gone maybe, I don't know, maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, something like that, without jerking off. That was the first time I'd ever done it, and it was like, boom, that's the power of it. And so, and of course, after that, I didn't have a lot of periods where I still would do No-Fap, because I don't know if I was still immature or what it was, but the point is that it's pretty powerful. And so if you think about another example of if you were to go 2 days without food, 3 days without food, you're not going to die, you're going to be fine, but you're going to start getting really hungry. And let's assume you don't have any money. Let's assume that there's no food in your house, you live by yourself, there's nowhere else to get food. And let's say now you're going on to like day 4, day 5 without food. You're gonna find a way to get food. Even if that means you literally stand on the corner and beg for money and get $1 and then go to the dollar menu, or, you know, oftentimes what you'll find is you'll just end up finding food. Like you'll realize you're way more resourceful. Resourceful just means ability to find resources. You'll find that you're way more resourceful in that you'll get food. You know, you'll find food. And in many ways, it's kind of what I think was going on with me with No-Fap, and how you can apply that same thing to your own life. So if you're looking to go out and get more motivated, and maybe you don't know why, like you're not talking to girls that you want to, or you're not pursuing new relationships that you want to, or something like that, it might just be because you're super docile, because you're busting nuts all day in your room. And that's it's like if you were to eat a huge meal and then you're just like, you need to go get more food and eat more food. It's like you already ate a huge meal, you're already stuffed. Well, it's kind of like the example of when you already jerk off. It's like, what's the reason to go out and try to meet girls or try to meet women or pursue relationships. Like your body thinks it just accomplished your really only human man task that it needs to, which is ejaculate. I mean, at the end of the day, you can break down humans however you want. You can break down animals. You could get philosophical. You could get analytical. You could get, kind of what's the meaning of life and everything. But when you break it all down, at the end of the day, every single animal, basically, all they're trying to do, from a basic biological, very low level biology, is reproduce. And as humans, of course, we have more complicated brains and we can think more than other animals. But at the end of the day, if you look at Charles Darwin, if you look at evolution, read the book The Selfish Gene. That's a really interesting book on evolution, and it talks a lot about human evolution, as well as a lot of other animal studies. At the end of the day, we're not really that much different. And so if you're constantly relieving yourself and busting nuts, then you have no incentive to go out. So that's just part of the motivation. But when it comes to the vitality, you'll also find that you likely are, in the traditional Chinese medicine books, it talks about you're opening yourself up to more of a susceptibility to like negative energy. So what that really means is you're more likely to get sick, you're more likely to have negative thoughts, you're more likely to just overall have less energy. And that's that whole idea of you're draining the vitality. But this is the thing. A lot of guys go way too far with No-Fap. And there was one guy I was talking to recently who said he's on like 5 months, I believe he said, of No-Fap, or if it was just not busting a nut. So you don't want to do that either, because then you're going in the opposite direction, right? Like when you look at Qigong, which is what it talks about in the book that I'll link in the traditional Chinese medicine, it's all about finding balance. So everything in life, it talks about dualism a lot in the book, right? And so you have night and you have day. And so when it comes to No-Fap, you don't want to do it too much, but you also don't want to do it at all. And going back to that food analogy, saying that you don't want to be completely stuffed, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to eat anything either, right? There's a fine line, and you want to kind of fit yourself into that perfect range. And I also think that what I'm going to outline in Manliest Man's No-Fap Challenge is really showing you how to kind of fine tune it, because I do think that while it roughly outlines guys in their 20s, it should be twice per week, guys in their 30s, it should be once a week, guys in their 40s, it should be once every 2 weeks. I do think that there's kind of a little bit more of a fine tuning to it, where you kind of have to figure out, well, it's kind of like sleep. Let's go on the sleep example. Some people are cool with 6 hours of sleep. They're like ready to go, ready to rock and roll. Some people maybe only need 5 hours of sleep and they're ready to rock and roll. Other people need 7 or 8 hours before they feel good. And so I think that likely when it comes to ejaculation cycles, it's probably the same thing. Some guys might be able to get away doing it 3 times per week and feel good. And I think a lot of that comes down to also the levels of stress that you have in your life, your nutrition, your sleep. Are you exercising enough, not too much? Are you staying hydrated? All these other things come into play. And if you have all those things dialed in, you likely, in my guess, can probably get away with busting an extra nut or 2 per week if you wanted to. But of course, when those things are not there, then you want to do it less. And that's a lot of, what it talks about in Qigong as well. And balancing your Qi is this idea of, when you do have really good vitality, you can engage in things and push it a little bit harder. But when you feel yourself begin to get overrun, then you pull back a little bit. And so it's always just kind of stepping back and assessing and asking yourself, how do I feel? Can I pause for a moment and even ask myself how I feel? Because a lot of people can't even stop for a second and really analyze and breathe into their body and say, how am I really feeling? Right? How are you really feeling? Can you stop and ask yourself that and just pause not have any other thoughts go through your head, not be tapping your fingers, not be looking at your cell phone, but just stop and ask yourself, how are you doing? And that's really important too. So as I go further into the Manliest Man's Challenge, I have it broken down in different challenges as well. I kind of go through a lot of these books and talk about them. Then I have challenges, and then I have, there's other sections as well. But in some of the challenges, let me sit up here for a second. In some of the challenges, what I talk about is trying to push it so that a lot of you guys that are addicted to fapping, it's likely you're probably similar to how I was, where you've never gone more than 2 or 3 days, maybe a week at the most, without jerking off. And you may have been like this for 10 years, 20 years, a long time. So diving into the first challenge in Manliest Man's Fap, No-Fap, is going to be trying to go just 3 or 4 days. I forget exactly what it is. Maybe I'll post another screen recording on here, but basically I've laid it out to increment it up from a few days to a week to 10 days and then 2 weeks. And then there's a last bonus challenge that I threw in there where you can try to push it for a month if you want to. And I say that's really only recommended for you guys that are like really hardcore, multiple times per day, and you've been doing this for a long time. In that case, I think it makes sense to try to go a full month and like really detox yourself from the act. But ultimately, you wouldn't be going those long periods of a month in a normal day-to-day thing. It would just... All right, so I had forgot to clear my, delete all the old videos that I had. So I just lost about 10 minutes of my last video, which I wasn't even saying anything too important, but going back just to finish it up here, and I will put in a bunch of screen recordings so you can kind of take a look into some of the things that I'm directly working on with No-Fap. But it really is going to be something that I'm gonna hop into and do as well, because I think that with all these things, these are things that I am challenged with too, and things that when it comes to No-Fap, it's stuff that I've done before, but I always think that you can come back to these things and get better at doing it, and so that's what one of my goals is showing you guys that, you know, it's possible for anybody to do it, and you're really gonna reap the full rewards with it. The whole idea is to use it to improve your life. It's not to, you know, prove that like you're a tough guy or that you have all this willpower, that you can, you know, go 40 days without busting a nut. It's really using it to your advantage and really realizing that you've wasted so much time. You know, you think about how much time is spent every day by all the guys that are jerking off, right? I mean, just obscene amounts of time, energy, and you know, both mental and physical energy being spent. And it's not saying that you never do it again. And I don't know if this was in the video that I already posted or if it was in the part that got deleted, but what I was saying was this coming along the idea of when you do it every day, or you're even doing it multiple times per day, you don't appreciate it. You actually are kind of like, wow, what am I doing? And you almost don't even enjoy it anymore. And it's the same thing, going back to the food example, when you are eating tons of junk food every day, or you just are eating, maybe it's not even junk food, but it's just lots of food in general, is you get to that point where you don't even really enjoy it. And it's that way with fapping all the time too. And so when you can step back and really create this routine, because I'm always about looking, how can you create these routines that will make your life much more productive and give you more control. But remember that more control is really, people don't like that word, but it's really more creativity, it's more free will, it's ability to make your life and other people's lives better, it's ability to generate more work output. So think of control, it's a good thing. And so how can you create that control to where you have that routine, right? Where you know, okay, this day and this day per week, that's my time when I do it. And so I really outline a lot of that kind of routine building in the course too. But going back to the idea of, you can also then really enjoy it, because you're likely at a point, if you're fapping all the time, busting nuts nonstop all day, is you don't even really enjoy it, and you're not getting that net benefit from it. So not only are you not enjoying it, but it's actually draining a lot of your time, a lot of your energy, a lot of your vitality. And so I think this is going to be a really good challenge, a really good program. And again, like I said, I'll post a lot of the kind of screen recordings and some shots so you can see kind of a look into it. I've been working on it for a bit now, so it's coming together and I look forward to it. And again, if you want to kind of see a little bit of behind the scenes, hop into Valhalla Syndicate. All these videos that I post here on YouTube, I usually will post like a shorter video about it in the group, and so you can kind of see some of the ideas there. And then I'll post like questions, discussions, other ideas, lots of things in there, just pertaining to personal development and all the things that I talk about here as well. And then also a good place to network with other guys in there as well, and network with me and talk, because while you can leave a comment on a YouTube video, it's kind of hard to actually have discussion or any sort of real dialogue here. And so that's really what Valhalla Syndicate is all about. And then moving forward, I really think it's going to be a great place to not only have discussions, but really even do a lot of, kind of meeting other people that are like-minded, and just being able to talk about these ideas more freely there. So I'm going to do a bit more work tonight, and I think it's going to be a good challenge, the Manliest Man's No-Fap challenge, and it's going to be good. I'm going to be right there alongside you guys doing it, and it really is something that every single guy can benefit from. And it's crazy how we just go through our lives like on autopilot, just bust another nut, do this, do that. And when you can really start to get control over it. And again, I wish I hadn't deleted this last 10-minute section of the video, because I'm trying to just quickly now recap the ideas that I was talking about there, but it is what it is. It was my mistake. I hadn't deleted those other videos. But hop into Valhalla Syndicate, and I will see you in the Manliest Man's challenge. It's going to be great, and it is time to get to work. I'll see you there.